You ever see a judge slap a kid in open court, right on the cheek, just because she quoted the law back to him? Yeah, I bet you haven't. Most people wouldn't even believe it if they heard about it. But that's exactly what happened to me, and let me tell you, when that gavel slammed and my face was burning, you could have heard a pin drop in that courtroom. Nobody saw it coming, especially not Judge Mercer, who had no idea who I was, or who I could reach with a single phone call and 5 little words. Yeah, that happened. Let me back up a sec. It was a regular Atlanta night, warm and humming, streetlights making shadows on cracked sidewalks as my brother Malik and I walked home from the community center, backpacks heavy with notes from the Civil Rights Forum, heads full of case law and statistics. We just listened to this speaker, someone who'd been stopped and frisked 3 times in a week. Malik was still chewing it over, talking about how it's one thing to hear those numbers, it's another to live them. You know what I mean? He was tense, walking tall like he always does when we talk about cops. Me, I just kept running facts through my head. 4th Amendment, Tennessee versus Garner, how you're supposed to know your rights. It felt like armor. Then those red and blue lights cut through the night, and suddenly my heart was pounding. Officer steps out, hand already on his weapon, shouting at us to get on the ground. Malik moves in front of me, shielding me, but I'm too angry to feel scared. Not really. I squared my shoulders and told the officer, straight up, according to Tennessee versus Garner, you don't have the right to use deadly force unless we pose a threat. He looked at me like I was speaking another language. Next thing I know, he's got his taser out. Last warning, he barks. I just keep talking because that's what my mom taught me. Never let them think you don't know the law. I started quoting Supreme Court precedent as if it could shield me. And that's when it happened. The sharp crack of the taser split the air, my body locked up, every muscle screaming, the world blinking red and blue as I hit the pavement. My brother's voice was the last thing I heard, screaming my name, raw and desperate. When I woke up, I was in juvie. Cold bench, wrist burning from the cuffs, the world spinning in a fluorescent haze. I could hear officers outside, laughing about the mini lawyer they just brought in. These kids think they know the law and order got them all gassed up, one of them sneered. I lay there, breathing slow, repeating case law in my head so I wouldn't cry. Then comes Mrs. Lom, my social worker, all business in her navy suit. This isn't a courtroom, Miss Morgan. Just answer the intake questions. She didn't care what I had to say about probable cause or Terry versus Ohio. I asked to call my mom. After processing clears, she said, never looking up from her tablet. All around me were other kids, black and brown faces, scared, alone, asking for their parents. Nobody was listening. Hours crawled by. At last, I got my hearing. Fulton County Family Court, Judge Mercer presiding. If you've never seen the inside of a courtroom as a defendant, let me paint the scene. High ceilings, wood panels, everything polished to a shine except for the looks the bailiff and judge give you. I was shackled at the ankles, just a kid, but they made me look dangerous. My mom, Nia, was standing in the back, eyes red and tired, hands shaking so bad I thought she'd drop her purse. Judge Mercer started in on me, aggressive toward law enforcement, dangerously defiant, the whole 9. I raised my hand. When he nodded, I started citing case law, calmly and clearly, because I'd done my homework. With respect, Your Honor, juveniles are entitled to due process. Miranda rights, he cut me off, red in the face. This court will not be lectured by a juvenile who's been fed leftist nonsense. He got out of his chair, crossed the courtroom in 3 steps, and slapped me so hard the whole room gasped. I didn't cry. I didn't even move. I reached down to the zipper my mom had sewn into my sock and slipped my phone into my hand. Judge Mercer watched, realization dawning in his eyes as I typed out 5 words and hit send. It happened. The bailiff snatched my phone, but it was too late. The message was already gone, and I knew the only person who needed to see it would understand. That's when the story really starts. Because I wasn't just some random kid, Justice Langston Vail, my uncle, a Supreme Court justice, had been waiting for that message for years. The man who'd lost his brother, my Uncle Devin, to a crooked cop and a crookeder judge. Yeah, the same Judge Mercer. And suddenly, all those years of secrets, those files buried in safes behind oil paintings, started coming up for air. Emails, court transcripts, photos of Mercer arm in arm with white nationalist donors, it was all in my uncle's folder, just waiting for the right moment. Meanwhile, I was back in juvie, talking to my mom during visitation. She warned me not to trust anyone blindly, not even family. There are things about your father's death. Things aren't always what they seem, she whispered. Later, a burner phone showed up in my cell, hidden by a sympathetic officer. One message: everything changes tomorrow. 55. My mother's old enemy, District Attorney Briggs, was back in the picture, working with Mercer to shut us down. But I wasn't just sitting there waiting for the grown-ups to handle it. When they sent me home with an ankle monitor and a swarm of cameras out front, I dove into my research project, Justice. Years of Mercer's rulings, combed through with AI, showed black teens getting sentences 5 times longer than white kids for the same crime. I flagged his language: urban aggression for us, potential for rehabilitation for them. Systematic, not accidental. Then came the twist: a manila envelope under our door, no return address. Inside, old transcripts from 1997, Mercer defending the cop who killed Devin Vale, my uncle's little brother. It all came together. My uncle's silence, my mother's anger, the entire system stacked to protect the powerful and crush anyone who questioned them. I emailed Uncle Langston. I didn't ask for help. I asked for the complete case file on Devin, sealed evidence and all. The reply came in the morning. A thick file, the truth in black and white. Medical reports, witness statements, police memos. Devin had cried out for his brother, had bruises the cops couldn't explain, and Mercer had helped sweep it under the rug. My hand shook reading it, but not from fear, from fury. So what do you do with evidence like that, when you're 15 and everyone's telling you to keep your head down? You start your own tribunal. That's what. I reached out to every young legal mind I knew, built an encrypted platform, and invited 12 teen scholars from across the country to investigate Mercer's career. Not a courtroom, something bigger. We called ourselves the Youth Constitutional Tribunal of Accountability. The day of the hearing, the viewer count ticked past 1 million. We laid out case after case: Elijah Carter, black teen, 12 years for shoplifting. Thomas Peterson, white, 2 years probation for the same crime. Patterns clear as day. Every document, every chart, publicly sourced and independently verified. Mercer's defenders called it mock court nonsense, but the facts were undeniable. By the time the last case closed, our panel voted 11-0, systemic bias, professional misconduct, ethical corruption. And when the Bar Association and Judicial Review Board came calling, when news outlets ran the story of a judge taken down by a group of teenagers, Mercer's world collapsed. The state adopted our model for youth tribunal review. My uncle was cleared of all ethics complaints, and suddenly, people cared about curriculum reform, about teaching kids their rights before it was too late. That's the thing about truth. You can bury it for years, but it grows. It finds cracks, sprouts up, and splits the concrete. In the end, my story isn't about revenge. It's about making sure the next kid knows they don't have to wait for a hero. They can be one. So yeah, I got slapped by a judge, but he's the one who got knocked off his bench. If you've ever wondered what real justice looks like, it's a scared kid standing her ground, a family refusing to stay silent, and a system finally forced to reckon with its own reflection. Now it's your turn. What do you think? Is the system broken, or just in need of new voices? Do we fight for change from the inside, or blow the doors off and start fresh? Drop your thoughts below, because if this story proved anything, it's that one voice, backed by truth, can shake the pillars of power. Don't just watch, join the conversation. Justice isn't a spectator sport.